Who am I now? You could say, I've come from being Karlos the builder to, I've always done investing, but now I'm pushing into investing. So who am I? I'm Karlos the investor, Karlos the builder, but what I do is I turn crazy properties, really crazy hard properties into really good investments. Now, no one really seems to do this. It's too hard. But when we do it, what we do is we create massive amounts of value. So this house here that we're in now, we are picking this up for $450,000. It is worth 1 to 1.2 million. It's been too hard for people to take on, so it didn't sell. It was very, very tricky to get over the line. It's taken me 6 months to get this one over the line. But what we've been able to do is purchase it for $450,000. We're then going to be able to renovate it. It's going to cost us around $200,000. But before I even did any of that, I had to go and get engineering all organised. We had a demolition order. I had to have meetings with council. I had to spend a lot of money on solicitors and lawyers to get it all sorted. The owner didn't have enough funds to be able to pay for all that. So I had to organise to have the payment of the solicitors and the council and the court orders done within the contract and paid out of the settlement money. And that has to happen before it settles. So then we also have to have a caveat on the property to make sure that those funds are secured in case something happens and it doesn't go through. We weren't able to get the property through without the court order being varied because it's got a demolition order on it. So there was a lot of moving parts, and these sort of things scare people off. Because I've done this over and over again with lots of different properties, I know how to do it. I've got the capacity to do it. What it does is it means that we can purchase a property for $450,000. We can then spend, $250,000 on the renovation. It's then worth 1.1, 1.2, maybe even more, all depending on how we finish it, which we need to get more data on how we're going to do that. That means, $400,000, $500,000 profit from this property. Now, for investors, that's incredible profit out of one property, and normally almost impossible to find. So using my skills in tracking down these properties, finding them, and then I've spent 2 months working with the owner, living on site, back and forth and so on, to find the solutions. Now, those solutions aren't normal solutions on a normal property sale. Things like the owner needed funds, so we need to actually get the owner some funds as well. So that needed to be some money actually released straight after contract was signed. And that was because she needs a medical procedure. To be able to get the property over the line, to be able to purchase it, we've had to work with and sort of flow around what the owner needed, what the council needed, what the lawyers needed, what the engineers needed. We need to also now work with what the building certifier needs, and they have to work with what the council needs. These type of projects are not easy or normal, but what happens is we create mega amounts of value in doing that itself compared to just buying a normal property at normal rates and then renovating it, and we might make $50,000. So, we're timesing that by 10. So it's like doing 10 properties in one. It has taken many, many years to get to this point, to know how to do it, to learn how to do it, to know what to look for, to search for them. And you can go and search for, properties, and then you go and actually have a look at them, and it is just going to be horrible, a mega spend, and you're going to lose money. So you've got to do the figures and rely on the math as well. Now, what we're now doing, now that we've got the property secured and under contract, I'm now reaching out to investors that I work with because they're now interested. Prior to getting it under contract and having all of these issues solved, it's would be completely pointless offering it to investors because I didn't have the data or the information or the figures on how it was all going to flow and work, and would it even work, and so no one's going to put money in. So I had to put my own funds in to get it to this point. Now I can reach out to my investors that I work with, big and small. I can get, some people want to put in a small amount, some people want to put in a large amount, but we're looking at 70 to 100% returns on investment within a 12-month period. That is almost impossible to find. That is what we do. Now, we can't do it on a massive scale where we're dealing with billions and multi-millions, but we can do it on a smaller scale for a limited amount of investors, which means we can make ourselves a good amount of money, we can get a great project out of it, and we can make investors a lot of money. Way, way more than what you would achieve if you were to just buy a property and sit and hold. It may take you 30 years to make that sort of profit, but we can make that in 12 months. So the benefit of all of the extra hard work pays off. Now, a lot of investors, and I'm actually been talking to a young fellow that was just helping to have a look at a house actually yesterday, and I was explaining to him that the property that he's purchasing, absolutely, he might, if he does spend about 50,000 on it, instantly he's going to make maybe 50,000 in equity on that property. He could sell it, but then that 50,000 would get chewed up in fees. He could hold it, and fantastic, don't get me wrong, it's an amazing investment. You make $50,000 equity, you purchase it, you let it sit for a couple of years, you might make $150,000 because you get more money coming in from the value and growth if it happens, if the market picks up. You also will get the rent coming in. But that is a 30-year process to pay that house off. And absolutely, do that, especially for your first property. It's an amazing way to go if you can. I've done that, and I've done that over and over and over again, and I've made 50,000 here, 40,000 there, 100,000 here. But then after doing it for so long, I've been doing it for nearly 10 years now, I started to see the ones that were getting better, and I started to get better at finding those ones. So with 10 years experience, this is a property that now I'm starting to take on. I've done a few of these. So instead of taking on the small ones, the long, really, really long growth, hopefully long growth ones, and then having the stress of paying mortgages for 10 years while they're growing, I'm now finding these ones where I can make the equity in the purchase. So I've done all of the research, I've spent all of the time, I've got the engineering, I've got the counsel, I've done everything before purchase. Now that could have been a $20,000 loss, but I could do that 10 times before I find a good one, and I'll still make a good money. The bonus is that within 12 months, I'll be able to make the same amount of funds that I would in 10 years or 30 years. And that means I can keep doing it. Now, one thing that I really do try to explain to everyone is that trying to do anything, any kind of investing on your own with no experience is really hard, and you're going to learn the hard way. That's what I did. I've built up to the point where now I work full time on my own investments and my own business. So if you're looking at investing, team up with people, find other people that are doing it, learn from them, ask questions, find out how you can do it better, find out where and what you should be buying. Is there any better idea? And do the math and do the figures, because you'll see that you can project out your project for 10 years and you're going to make $200,000. Or just in the purchase, you can make $200,000 in 6 months. Now, that if you're just ever going to get one investment, no big deal. But if you can make $200,000 in 6 months or 1 year, now you have $200,000 more. The next year you're going to make $300,000. The next year you're going to make $500,000. It amplifies. So instead of a $200,000 profit over 10 years, you've now made $1 million profit over 10 years. If you do that, you can do similar to what I've done and move away from just working and getting a little bit of savings and putting that into investments. You can, within your first couple of years of doing that, get that $200,000 or $400,000 profit, utilize a percentage of that, let's say $100,000 I say, to substitute your wage so that you can now work on your own investments full time. And you can do that within a couple of years. You've just got to make the decision, plan it out, find the right people, find the right investments, team up with people, find the right brokers, find the right solicitors. And all it is mental focus and work and knowing where you want to go. So anyone can do it. You can do it with very minimal if you find the right people to team up with. Let's say you have a full-time job and you don't have many savings, but you have a loaning ability of $500,000. If you find someone to team up with and they have not much loaning ability, but they have cash, utilize their cash, utilize your loaning ability, team up, buy a property together. These are the things that you can do. And yes, okay, you may make half the amount of profit, but that's still half the amount of profit that you would not have made because you can't do it. Now, you do that for a few years, you will be able to make enough savings to be able to come in and do it full time. Or you don't have to too, you can just keep working and let your savings build up. But it'll amplify. And when you amplify that over 10, 20, 30 years, instead of making $500,000 profit in 30 years, you can make $3 million profit in 30 years. So why would you choose the smaller amount because you don't know how to do it, when all you have to do is figure out how to do it, have conversations, create relationships, team up with people that are already doing it. If you sort of take myself as an example, that's exactly how I started. I teamed up with people. I was broke, I had no money. I was able to team up with people, and I'm a builder, so I'm able to do the work. So I utilized what I had and I was able to create what I wanted. Now, just like the investors that I work with, they don't have the time, but they have the funds and the ability, but they're working. They've got their own businesses and they're making great money, but they don't have the time to focus on these crazy investments. So I utilize some of their funds, some of my funds, my ability and my knowledge. We team up and we create these properties, which means I can do bigger and better properties. So instead of being able to do $500,000 or $1 million properties, I can do $2 or $3 million properties, or I can do 3 of them. That means that I still make more money because it's amplified, and I'm teaming up and creating resources. With some of these harder properties, resources are everything because the banks won't loan on hard properties. So you need initial funds to be able to purchase them cheap, to be able to get it over the line, to be able to get the job done, to get it finalized. Then you can get a bank refinance. There's so much to it. You need the knowledge, you need people around you that you can actually learn from, team up with, and utilize your strength and their strength together. When you do that, you're able to create it. You're able to do it compared to not able to do it. So that's what I do. That's how I do it. That's why I'm successful. That's how I can create and find and get these type of properties. It is not from a fluke. It's from very hard work, a lot of learning, a lot of teaming up, a lot of research, and then also a lot of learning along the way too. Now we've got to take this to court now. I've got to learn that whole process. So it is very exciting, especially when you start to see, instead of having no money in the bank, you've now got hundreds of thousands in the bank. Instead of making $10,000 savings because you've been working a job and that's all you can save because the cost of living is so high, you've made $250,000 or $500,000 in savings in 1 year. How else can you do that? It is very, very hard unless you win lottery, and what is the chances of that? So hopefully people listen, hopefully people understand what I'm saying. Find people, team up, invest in the right things, forecast it out. Make sure that you're in fantastic, safe, risk-free or very low risk investments. If you're not, actually try and lower your risk in a really low purchase price, or by having lots of people around you who can support you if you need it. Other business partnerships, other partners, other investor partnerships. When you do that, you are way more likely to succeed.